Good morning, YouTube. Welcome back to the show. In today's video, we're talking about something that I didn't really want to talk about. Talking about the human rights issues in relation to the Saudi takeover of Newcastle United. I didn't want to talk about it because it's a tough issue. It's a contentious issue, and as a Newcastle fan, it puts you in an awkward position. Obviously, I love the fact that my club is now literally the richest club in the world, but I also can't be naive to the fact that the money that the PIF has earned over the years has involved them doing a few unethical things. Well, maybe more than a few. So I pushed Sam and X to give me their opinions, and they come up with some interesting analogies and some interesting opinions of, how football and ethics kind of work together or don't work together. Personally, the only thing that I really want to say about it is Newcastle fans, enjoy what is to come. Enjoy the fact that the club has a new owner, the club will soon have a new manager, and the club will be signing some good players. Enjoy that. Enjoy the football side of it and enjoy watching the team play. But just know that this will never leave you. You'll never be able to avoid this conversation. When you are talking to other football fans about the success of your club, just know that they will always bring this up. And don't be naive to it. Don't try and run away from the issue. Just understand that this issue will always be there. Same way that City fans and Chelsea fans go to bed at night thinking, yes, I just watched my team win the Premier League, win the FA Cup, win the Champions League. But we probably wouldn't be there if it wasn't for these rich owners, and these rich owners aren't squeaky clean themselves. So, yeah, that's all I have to say, really. I hope that you enjoy the discussion that I have with Sam and X about this. And yeah, enjoy the video.
And I just wanted to touch on the human rights.
Well, yeah, let's get into it, X. I think I've avoided it
Yeah,
for long enough. Let's get into
yeah,
it, bro.
yeah. It's like for us as spectators, we also must uh, be cognizant that we can't have double standards, because when it comes to our cell phones, our cell phones have coltan, right? And coltan is found where? In the DR Congo. So the same people who are tweeting about human rights are using the same devices that are actually, like the main piece of the devices is from coltan, and we all know how coltan is extracted in the DRC. Kids who are 3 years old are working in those mines, and they and here we are as spectators. We like, oh no, human rights. We coming at Newcastle's owners for that, but at the same time, we are using devices that contain coltan, And so for me, it's I'm viewing this mostly from a footballing perspective rather than from
Yeah.
a human rights perspective, only because I don't want to be a hypocrite at the end of the day. That's pretty much how I'm gonna answer that. Yeah.
I get what you're trying to say. I mean,
Yeah.
there's human rights issues probably everywhere
Everywhere.
you look. The coffee
Yeah.
you drink in
Everywhere.
the morning is
Yeah. Yeah.
beans that are picked by people who are impoverished in Uganda and Zimbabwe and in countries
Yeah.
like this. Like it's it's not something that you can avoid anywhere really.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, how do you separate the two? Can in this state, in this magnitude of money, 300, like I said, 320 billion pounds is what the guy's worth. It's so much money. How do you then separate the human rights thing there? How do you then say, okay, wait, this is just about football, but when you know
Yeah.
that that money is potentially coming from something that is it's unethical. Is it possible to separate football entirely from that? And further to that question, do you feel people can separate football from the human rights issues, but they choose not to because of, I'm going to say, jealousy? They don't want to give Newcastle's owners the credit that they deserve from a business and football point of view, so they rather poke at the human rights thing. How do you separate the two, guys? It's a tough
So,
question, I
Yeah,
know.
yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
so I've often thought that sports, like any sports, like a, re- a religion, like any sport is basically like that. So it's almost like a cult following at times.
Mhm.
And I've looked at stuff happening around the world. Like you can question yourself about morals, ethics, and but everything is always a view that you take based on what you were listening to growing up, where you grew up, culture, and everything and everything. So I'll give you a quick example. Cristiano has got a rape case, right? I think it was thrown out recently, or a few days ago,
There
or but
was, yeah, it was. I can't remember if they found him innocent, but it seems to have just gone away. You guys will know
yeah,
more than me.
it seems like something happened there where it's been shoved away. But
Mm,
we know from reading the stories and reading the case that he admits that, you know what, I did A, B, C, D. So however you want to view that is up to you.
mm,
So I genuinely, and then I see it like on the socials and everything. Cristiano Ronaldo scores, everyone is like, yeah. R. Kelly, different story, but same thing. It still is rape. So it's very difficult to toe the lines between what you like as a sport, which I said is akin to believing in like Jesus. And I say that wholly because I can't give someone else a second thought when it comes to doing wrong to me. But my team disappoints me week in, week out, but I support it, right?
Yeah.
So this is the kind of level of support I'm talking about, where sport is very different from real life. Like I'm not saying real life doesn't blend into sport. We've got sport pushing causes at the moment, which are very good, but it comes to a point where you need to ask yourself to say, like, it's the very same thing. The USA were like, I don't want to get into other issues here, but the USA were like, we had someone killed at the what embassy and what did they stop doing business with that country? That's the question. So that's my question is like, what are you there for? So I'm not buying an iPhone and thinking, oh, there's a child who was in the in
mm.
those sweatshops doing this. So it's a very difficult thing because when a goal comes in and Maxima scores and he's surrounded by Harry Kane and Haaland, I'm not going to be thinking about human rights. In that moment and in that time,
It's
human rights are
about
put
football.
aside. And I'm not saying those things are not important, but I think they need to be addressed in a different light, in a different platform. Maybe the league needs to have its own rules to say this is who is allowed to invest in a certain team.
Well,
Maybe
supposedly, the Premier League does have that. They have their, their fit and proper owners test, and they did determine the Saudi PIF to be fit and proper owners. And I don't know how much they look into these type of things. I don't know how much they look into, what happened, especially with bin Salman, the actual crown prince himself, and what happened
yeah,
with Khashoggi and all those
yeah.
things there. I don't know how much they look into that, but for whatever it is, the PIF passed that test. They've been deemed to be fit and proper. And what the PIF has done is they've gone and put a woman in charge. So one could say that buying a football club in the UK and that has such global exposure, putting a woman in charge is a way to kind of almost show a face that is that or some people
Fine.
argue that they're trying to clean up their face a little bit. They're trying to look better now. They're trying to sort of clean up the image of Saudi Arabia a little bit more by doing this. Do you think that's ethical to do? Do you think it's like, well, you can forget about some of the atrocities that I've committed previously because now I've bought a football club. I'm going to invest in the area. I'm going to invest in this team. I'm going to put a woman in charge. Not like this woman is obviously, struggling. She's very rich by herself anyway. But do you think that trying to clean up your act by doing something like this is an ethical thing to do?
Like on my end, man, like, Sam said a mouthful, especially with regards to this thing. It's a double standards thing, at the end of the day with me. It just all goes down to, like you said, the PFA have done their due diligence on the owners, and of course, we very much know as to, like, to a certain extent, what went down in Saudi Arabia. But like, it's very tricky, Adam, like, to be honest with you. And I'm not a person who's I'm not really good at articulating myself when it comes to such issues.
It's a hectic issue for sure.
Yeah, it's very,
But
it's very sensitive.
you can't have this discussion about Newcastle
Mm.
being bought by Saudi owners without having it.
It's the same thing I was saying before. So
Yeah.
putting a lady there in charge, it's all ethics, right? You try and dress it up the best way possible. So I don't think I have much more to add, like, besides what I've said. Just to say, what, it's a very difficult issue because, again, I expect, especially if this goes well in terms of football, because if the team doesn't do well, it's easy for them to bash, right?
Yeah.
Oh, these are the Saudi owns who did A, B, C, D. But once they start doing well, you see all those things coming up. Now, like, oh, are you, they make you start questioning, are you right to support a team that's been what. But I don't know what the Glazers have been doing. I don't know the Glazers' personal life, So, again, I'm not saying human rights issues are not important. But like I said, supporting a football team is akin to believing in Jesus. That's my view, because that's how much I love football. It's for me, it's you can tell someone that, bro, Jesus isn't there, they'll be like, nah, man, it's cool. Yeah. So you become a football guy who can knock on people's doors and be like, hey, man, Jehovah's Witness here, my team is the best team in the world.